What is up, guys? Welcome back. We got another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show for you tonight. Thursday night, we're hanging out for the next half an hour or so. We're going over whatever questions you guys need. Any, injury reports, practice reports. We'll look at things. We got a good game going on tonight. We got the Giants are kind of exciting, man. We got Malik Neighbors, Devin Singletary, Daniel Jones is playing better. There's a lot to like, I think, in this game, and we'll see if the Cowboys can kind of figure things out. So we'll hang out for the next half an hour or so. Aiden does not like the jersey, and I don't have CeeDee Lamb anywhere going tonight. I got Rico Dowdle, but it's the one piece of Cowboys clothing that I own. So it's a CeeDee Lamb jersey, but tonight it's a Rico Dowdle jersey for me. So good evening to Aiden. Good evening to Jason. Hope you guys are doing well. And I need a Rico Dowdle touchdown tonight, so I'm just doing whatever I can to will that into existence. I, in fact, do not have CeeDee Lamb going anywhere tonight. So let's go Rico Dowdle. That's going to be my man tonight. I do want to kind of just talk about, we got a lot of things going on here, man, with the news. No Bucky Irving today. Workhorse White is back. I'm nervous about Rachaad White, though, because he's not a good running back. Even if they give him 15 carries, what's that going to be? 30, 40 yards on the ground. But he will still be getting all that receiving work, which is nice. So, if you have Rachaad White, you're probably playing him. And again, even if Bucky plays, what's his availability? I don't know. Maybe he's not stealing as many carries and touches as he had been. So we'll see about Bucky Irving. I'm just double checking here. He was limited. I have Bucky Irving as limited on Wednesday. Did not practice today. Everybody else looked good for Tampa Bay, though. So Rachaad White, probably going to move him up in my rankings. I'm going to separate. I think I had Rachaad White and Bucky Irving kind of back-to-back in my rankings, but I'm going to separate them and push Bucky up. Am I crazy for wanting to sit Tyreek Hill for Odunze? So I do think that the offense will look better if Snoop Huntley is the quarterback. Chicago, still hasn't looked good as an offense. They did finally get some stats going last week as a passing offense, which looks good. Keenan Allen, back-to-back limiteds. I'm not sure if he plays. If Keenan Allen's out, I think I'm very open to Rome Odunze starting for me over Tyreek Hill. If Keenan Allen's in, I'm concerned about the routes and the snap workload for Odunze, so I might lean Tyreek there. So if Keenan Allen's out, I will play Odunze. And good evening to Harris, my man. Hope you're doing well. And we kind of briefly touched on Rachaad White. I think if you have Rachaad White, you'd have to have some really good options behind him to bench him. Now, we haven't talked about Houston Texans yet, but if you have Cam Akers, I might play Cam Akers over Rachaad White. The good news is Bucky Irving. I guess the good news for Rachaad White is Bucky Irving did not practice today. I think Rachaad White's probably going to settle into that RB 24 to 25 range for me. When it comes to Rachaad White or Jerome Ford, I might lean Jerome Ford. Rachaad White or J.K. Dobbins, I might lean J.K. Dobbins. Rachaad White or Ramondre Stevenson, probably going to go with Rachaad White. The options are Harris and Moss. And I'm ranking both Harris and Moss ahead of Rachaad White, even if Bucky Irving doesn't play. If Keenan plays, are we playing him against the tough matchup? So the thing that I kind of have learned over the years is that when a player is missing games and he's trying to come back, they're usually going to want him to get some limited practices in. Then he does not play in that game, and then he gets a second week of practice in before he plays. We're kind of seeing that with Jordan Love right now, where he practiced all last week. He's practicing this week. I expect Jordan Love to play. That's just kind of the norm that I've seen. They kind of want these guys to get 2 weeks of practice. So even though Kenneth Walker practiced today, I think he's on track to play, which is nice. But, Zach Charbonnet's looked pretty good in his relief, and I don't know if we need to throw Kenneth Walker out there because I'm not sure what the workload is going to be in the split between the two. So I would be cautious with Kenneth Walker. It is a tough matchup as well. We'll know more tomorrow if he practices tomorrow and, of course, Saturday. So I would need to know your options. I'm leaning towards Kenneth Walker being more of just a flex if he does play. I'm not super excited about it. How do you feel about Kirk Cousins this week. Let's see. So Kirk Cousins, the offense has looked good the last couple of games. Like I'm pretty optimistic about how it's looked, but they're playing the New Orleans Saints. Luckily, this game's in Atlanta. I'm just going to look real quick at my fantasy points allowed stuff because I don't really want to mess with the Saints defense. They've always been pretty good against opponents here. And so far, they're ranking ninth best against the quarterback position, about 12 points per game. Only allowed one touchdown on the year, but they're allowing a lot of passing yards. So I'm expecting a decent floor game from Kirk Cousins this week. I don't know if I have him as like a top. I don't think he's a QB1. So only for super flex for me. I think if you have Kirk Cousins in a 1 QB league, I'd probably rather roll out, I don't know, Purdy, Mayfield, Geno, guys like that, maybe even Darnold, guys with a little bit of rushing upside over Kirk Cousins this week. Should I trade away Devonta for Davante Adams? I don't know. I have a weak spot for Tay, that talent special. I do like it. The Eagles have their bye week next week, so you'd be kind of stealing a couple games here with Davante Adams, so I get it. I don't think Davante Adams plays this weekend. To me, Davante Adams is just going to be like a strong wide receiver too, and I kind of view Devonta Smith's outlook similarly for the rest of the season. So if you want to grab Davante Adams, who we know is healthy right now, I'm open to that. I think it's kind of like a neutral trade, like a 1-for-1 trade where it's pretty fair on both sides. Oh man, Cam Akers or J.K. Dobbins. I'm not looking forward to what the Chargers are going to be putting out on offense this week. I'm probably going to have Akers ranked ahead of J.K. Dobbins by a spot or two. I think if you have Cam Akers, he's probably a top 24 running back this week. He did catch the touchdown last week, which was nice, but they got blown out in the game. And I think that's important to note that Cam Akers still came through for us last week, even though they got blown out. Now they're playing the Jaguars, but I would expect the Texans offense to look better, to control the game, and probably get Akers his 14, 15 touches. So I'm going to go Cam Akers. I'm nervous about the Chargers because, that Chiefs D is really good. We don't know what the quarterback situation is going to look like. They're missing some offensive tackles. It looks pretty bad for the Chargers right now. So I'm going to go Cam Akers. Jason says, pick 2 half PPR. Pollard, Flowers, Jennings, and Deontay. I think you got to play. The one play is Deontay. And then it might be Jennings right now. These are all really good options. So I think that's the good news here. But I'm ranking Deontay Johnson as a top 10 wide receiver this weekend. I think Jennings, I don't know if it's going to continue what he had last weekend going. I would expect him to still get his maybe 7 or 8 targets in this one. So I'm leaning towards Jennings and Deontay Johnson being the guy. I think Zay Flowers is a little safer. I'm not really interested in Tony Pollard, even though the usage has looked pretty good. I think he ranks last. So if I'm ranking him, I'm going to go Deontay. Jennings and Flowers are like a tie for me. I think the Ravens are going to have to pass the ball against the Buffalo Bills, so I could see a good game coming there. Whereas the 49ers against the Patriots, that could be a game script where they don't have to throw the ball a ton. So I think they're kind of a tie. I'm going to lean Jennings just because he's got that massive chemistry right now with Brock Purdy. So Deontay, Jennings, Flowers, Pollard would be my rank. Harris or Moss, full PPR. So we're assuming Jaylen Warren doesn't play this weekend. I think you're looking at a boatload of touches for Najee Harris. And I know Cordero Patterson missed practice today. I believe Najee's going to be just fine. So I think I'm leaning Najee Harris here. He's yet to score a touchdown this season. You're probably getting 20 touches. He's been catching the ball too, which has been nice to see. I think they're both really safe plays this weekend, but I'm going to go Najee against the Indianapolis Colts. And yeah, I think Njoku's on track to play. Even last week they had mentioned that he has a chance, but he didn't really get a practice in. I'm nervous though that he didn't practice yesterday. He practiced today, needs practice tomorrow, and he'll probably be a game time decision. So if you have Njoku, I'm open to playing him. But I usually don't like playing guys in their first game back, but I'm open to Njoku. Andy Dalton over Kirk Cousins. Probably, probably. I think Andy Dalton's like my top 20 quarterback right now. I'll go Andy Dalton at home against Cincinnati over Kirk Cousins against a tough defense. You got Charbonnet, Cook, and Montgomery, so it would be flex. Other options: Odunze, Quinton. So yeah, you're playing Cook and Montgomery for sure. And then at that point, when it comes to it, if Kenneth Walker's out, Charbonnet's the easy call. But if Kenneth Walker's in, I might go Odunze, my man. If Kenneth Walker's in and we don't know what the backfield's going to look like, I'll probably just punt and go Odunze. Good evening, Ryan. I don't think we're going to see Trey McBride in this one. He didn't practice today. Now, he's one of those guys that he doesn't really need to practice. I think if he gets a limited in tomorrow and he clears the protocol, then he could play. But I would say his chances of playing are probably pretty slim right now. I think he's more doubtful than being able to play. So back-to-back DNPs, still hasn't cleared protocol. I would assume he's out this week, but you never know. If Love plays, rank Reed, London, and Pickens. Reed, London, and Pickens. So we're probably going to rank Pickens as the 3. He's just kind of like a low ceiling. He's got a nice ceiling, but he's got a low floor as well. Where I think the Jaden Reed connection for Jordan Love is pretty sick. I think Drake London's got a tough matchup. If I'm ranking him, I'm going to go Reed, London, Pickens. Akers or Jerome Ford. So I mean, I really like the matchup for Jerome Ford, but this one to me kind of comes down to like whose offense do I trust more? I kind of trust the Houston Texans more. A game against, we know what the Jaguars have been putting out there on the field, Aiden. So I think I'm going to lean Cam Akers slightly, but these guys are kind of in the same tier, like around RB20 for me this weekend. I'm just, Texans at home against the Jags. As bad as the Jags looked, I think they're going to play better, but I still expect the Texans to control this game. And coming off a pretty bad loss to Minnesota, I think the Texans are going to be okay. Akers or Rico Dowdle full PPR. So this one's tough because like Rico plays tonight. I think Rico's going to be fine for his 9 to 12 PPR points. But I think Akers has that higher upside. I'm going to swing for the fences with Akers. Dowdle could score a touchdown tonight and be, 14, 15 points. I do expect Dowdle to look decent tonight, but I think Cam Akers potentially getting 12 to 15 touches is where I would rather be. Evans, Cooper, or Odunze? Oh, man. The answer is not Odunze here. I think it's probably Mike Evans, but it's close. I'm going to go Amari Cooper at the Raiders. It's a revenge game for him technically against his former Raiders team. Evans just hasn't hit for the last 2 games here. I think I want to ride the hot hand with Amari Cooper. It's kind of a coin flip between those 2 guys. I'm going to lean Amari Cooper in this one, though. I'd rank them Cooper, Evans, Odunze. Ferguson or George Kittle. So this one requires a leap of faith. I'm not sure we're going to see George Kittle this weekend. Now, he has been trending in the right direction, which I think is a good thing. He's been limited in back-to-back days. But with the hamstring injury, his first game back, Jake Ferguson looked really good last weekend. And I think I'm ready for – I think I ranked Jake Ferguson as like my tight end 3. I think Kittle was like number 6. I'm going to lean Ferguson here, but you have 2 pretty good options. I don't want to be burned and miss out on Ferguson if Kittle doesn't play this game or he's limited in the game. So I think you probably got to play Ferguson. Well, I mean, you also have to kind of mess around with, the opponent here and make them think that they might have to prep for Njoku. Are they on bye next weekend? Do we have a lot of byes next weekend? Let me look and see. Where is Mr. Njoku? Limited the week before a bye. They play Washington next weekend, so their bye's not till week 10. So I think Njoku's got a good chance to play, and hopefully he's out there for them. Drop Reynolds or Curtis Samuel. They're both droppable, Harris. They're both droppable. Noah, good evening. 0.5 PPR. Who should I start as my RB2? Akers / Ford, just in case Laporta doesn't play Freiermuth, Fant, or Conklin. So I think you have to break. I'm pretty sure Sam Laporta is not playing in this one. Back-to-back DNPs. They do have a bye next weekend. I think you have to plan for Laporta to not be in this one. So of those three tight ends, I think Freiermuth is probably your safest guy. If you just want 7 points, you can, I guess, maybe 5 to 7 points, you go with Freiermuth. I think Fant is fine, but it is a tougher matchup against the Lions. I think I'm going with Tyler Conklin, who looked good on Thursday night. The other wrinkle for the Jets is like you got Pat Surtain, and everyone's going to be talking about Pat Surtain all year is locking down the opponent's wide receiver one. And I would expect Garrett Wilson to not have the best game, which means Rodgers probably needs to rely on some of these other targets, whether it's Conklin, Lazard, or even Mike Williams. So I'm leaning towards Conklin being your best tight end. And then for running back 2, I'm a little nervous with Ford coming in. He's limited today with a knee injury. And I think we answered the question before. I'm going to lean Cam Akers over Jerome Ford just a little bit, but they're both in the same tier. Schultz or Conklin. So we did get news that Tank Dell's very doubtful for this weekend. So I'm open to Dalton Schultz. Let me look and see the tight end points allowed here for the Jaguars. The Jaguars are only giving up about 7 points per game to the tight end, so it's not a great matchup here. I think I'm going to lean into the Denver one. Denver's given up about 10.67 PPR points per game to the tight end. They just lost their starting linebacker, Alex Singleton. And again, for the reasons that we talked about where, Rodgers is probably going to have to rely on some of his other targets in this one, I think Conklin's probably the play. And in this one, I have no faith in the Patriots offense to throw the ball to the same guy consistently all the time. Hunter Henry looked good for one game, like he smashed in week 2, but we've seen 2 duds from him. I'm going to lean Dalton Schultz here. If I'm looking at Schultz or Henry, I'll go Dalton Schultz. And again, Tank Dell, if you guys have Tank Dell, he's not playing this weekend. They've already pretty much thrown that out there. I also think Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce are pretty much out. Expect Cam Akers to be the lead back in this one. I do want to read some of the other news, the player news, and see what's going on here. Josh Palmer is a full go. ESPN expects George Kittle to return for week 4. So if you're holding out hope for Kittle, I think he's going to play. Trey McBride, again, DNP. It was nice to see Kenneth Walker back, but I'm still thinking we need more information on his availability tomorrow and Saturday. We're looking at Devontae Adams limited with the hamstring, but I don't think I'm concerned. A lot of limiteds today. I don't know if Raheem Mostert's going to play. He's limited with that chest injury, but we're not really trusting any Dolphins not named Devon Achane or Tyreek Hill. DeAndre Hopkins got a day of rest. I think if you have DeAndre Hopkins, he's very usable as a wide receiver 3 flex right now after having a good game and running half the routes last weekend. One name to keep an eye on for the Texans is Nico Collins. He was added to the injury report today with a limited session for the hamstring. So we'll keep an eye on Nico Collins there. I think if you have Jordan Addison, expect him to play this weekend. I fully expect him to play. Keenan Allen, again, back-to-back limited practices today. One big piece of news here for the 49ers was Deebo Samuel was seen in pads at practice. So not sure if he plays this weekend yet, but I think this practice signifies that he has a chance to. I think he's playing in week 5, but with week 4, a true questionable coin flip situation right now. Again, no Justin Herbert, no Sam Laporta. Looking around for some of the other issues we got going on. Deontay Johnson didn't practice today, but that was more of a precautionary thing. Their practice field was wet. It was raining. They didn't want to tweak anything on him. So I think, guys, if you have Deontay Johnson, again, I'm ranking him as a top 10 wide receiver this weekend. We don't have Adam Thielen for the next month. I think Deontay Johnson's looking like a must-start player if you have him. The Packers are being coy and saying Jordan Love's a game-time decision, but it feels like he's playing this weekend, so I want to play Packers if I have it. I'm not thinking about Raheem Mostert here. I'm playing Rico Dowdle pretty safely for those 8 to 12 points tonight. I think Mostert, again, we don't know if he's playing. It's an uninspiring offense. I kind of want to see what it looks like with Mostert and Achane before I trust it again. So I'm just going to collect the Rico Dowdle points tonight there, Harris. Alvin Kamara returned to practice, so that's good to see. I think he's on track to play. Philadelphia Eagles, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. These guys aren't playing this weekend. Back-to-back DMPs for both of these guys. If you have Dallas Goedert, I ranked him as my tight end 1 for the week. I think you're probably looking at like 8 to 10 targets this weekend for Dallas Goedert. If you have Goedert, he needs to be in your lineup this weekend. Jerome Ford returned to practice today. David Njoku, we talked about both those guys a lot. Again, tanked out, unlikely to play. Dolphins still don't know who their quarterback is. They're giving Skylar Thompson a chance to play, but I don't feel great about it. And then but I got a quote here from Bucky Irving saying he will play against the Eagles. But again, after not practicing today, I don't think I want to run Bucky Irving out in my lineup. So I wouldn't start Bucky Irving, but hold on to him for sure. Don't drop him. Check your waiver wires for him. I think he's a guy that's probably going to be getting 8 to 12 touches per game going forward when he is healthy. So keep an eye on Bucky Irving there. And then that's pretty much it. Another guy that I kind of like keeping an eye on here is Mike Williams. I expect him to be busier than he was last weekend. I think Mike Williams is a guy that I'm willing to put on my bench. B. Cooks, Leggett, Chandler. I'm going Xavier Leggett without hesitation. I don't want to play Brandon Cooks tonight. I don't trust him. I just don't trust him, Harris. I think Xavier Leggett with the Adam Thielen injury, that opens him up to be the clear number 2, number 3 wide receiver for the Panthers. And he's a big play guy. I think he's your guy that can go 3 for 60 and a touchdown, something like that. We're not playing Ty Chandler until Aaron Jones misses time or gets hurt. So I would rank these guys as Leggett, Cooks, and Ty Chandler. I do want to talk for a couple minutes about some players in deeper leagues that I think are worth stashing. These are going to be guys that are like, 20% and under. I do have a list of guys that I think are on IR that could be stashed, whether it's Marshawn Lloyd, Kendre Miller. I think with Denver's running back situation, I think Audric Estime is a guy that I'm willing to stash. Tyler Bidet for the Broncos could be a guy that gets more work going forward. Another guy that I'm liking to stash is Kamani Vidal. I think Gus Edwards is probably cooked. I'm willing to cut Gus Edwards right now if I have him. Other stashes that I like, Isaac Guerendo, Keaton Mitchell, Tyrone Tracy, who we're going to get a sneak peek at tonight. I think Emmanuel Wilson needs to be owned in all leagues. And Roschon Johnson should have been picked up this waiver wire run, of course. That's kind of the list of running backs. I mean, you could hold on to Trey Sermon, who's the backup for the Colts. I think, that's pretty much it for the running backs that I want to hold on to. Deeper stashes at wide receiver, and again, these guys are going to be under 20% owned. I think Michael Wilson's going to have a game against the Washington Commanders this weekend. Xavier Leggett, another guy that has a lot of opportunity. If Romeo Doubs, he's 25% rostered. If Romeo Doubs is chilling on your IR or your waiver wire, he needs to be picked up. I think Dontavian Wicks, Andre Yoshivas, Josh Downs, Jalen Tolbert, all these guys can be end-of-the-bench stashes for you. Maybe Jonathan Mingo. At tight end, really deep, under-owned guys here. Cole Kmet should have been picked up. Zach Ertz, Mike Gesicki, Tyler Conklin. We'll see about Brenton Strange. Tucker Kraft, he's only 3.7% owned on ESPN. He needs to be picked up. He's your tight end 1 in Green Bay. And then one more tight end for you guys. Brock Wright might be starting. He's going to be starting for Sam Laporta. So if you need a tight end, Brock Wright makes sense. Who should I start as my RB2, Akers or Ford? Yeah, you might have missed it earlier, Noah. I did answer that one before. I'm going Cam Akers over Ford, and I'm going Conklin over Freiermuth and Fant. So Akers and Conklin for me. Benson, Pirine, Gibson, Yoshivas, Kraft, Conklin. We're not using Benson at all. He's in the Blake Corum section of handcuffs. I'm not going Kraft. I'm kind of nervous about Pirine because this game's going to be probably the Chiefs leading from most of the game, and I expect the carries to be high for Steele. Maybe we see Kareem Hunt. I don't feel comfortable starting Pirine. I don't feel comfortable starting Gibson, so I think you're looking at Yoshivas or Tyler Conklin. I'm going to go Tyler Conklin. And yeah, Evan Ingram's a little upsetting. Brenton Strange, though, has looked good in relief. these last 2 games. I actually started Brenton Strange last weekend. He had 5 targets. He had one like pretty bad drop. He had another one that he almost caught. He could have had a bigger day. I think Brenton Strange has been fine as a tight end replacement. But if you're waiting for Evan Ingram, the guys, again, that I'm looking at, whether it's Cole Kmet was probably added. I think Zach Ertz or Mike Gesicki might be the top available for you guys. But Conklin is kind of the guy that I think is the easiest available. Otherwise, Strange, Kraft looks pretty nice. And then the final one there would be Brock Wright, who's playing on Monday Night Football this weekend. So that's the majority of stash plays that I like. I'm going to see if I can find any more super deep guys. If you're in a pinch, in Harris, it sounds like you've got some leagues where you're like really, really deep. If you're in a PPR league, Jeremy McNichols is going to be the RB2 for Washington. He's worth a look. Otherwise, I think Justice Hill is a good play in PPR leagues this week, whether it's going to be one of those games where Justice Hill has more snaps and opportunities, I think, than Derrick Henry. So keep an eye on Justice Hill. I also think, where was he? Maybe Darrell Ogunbowale, but I don't feel great about that. He's just a 5 to 6 point play. But if you're in desperation mode and you need a running back, Tyler Bidet for the Denver Broncos. 9 carries, 70 yards last weekend. He had a 16-yard carry and a 2-yard catch the weekend before. He looks like a guy that the Broncos might start to use in the rotation, going forward. They're looking for running back production. Otherwise, Cordero Patterson. I think Cordero Patterson's an interesting start this weekend if you need help. He's going to be the RB2 going up against the Colts. I think Cordero Patterson could be a guy for you. But if you guys don't have any more questions, I'm going to get out of here for the night. You guys can always hit me up on Twitter or comment on the video or TikTok or wherever you need me. I will answer your questions there. Good luck tonight. Not a CeeDee Lamb jersey. It's a Rico Dowdle jersey, just in disguise. So hopefully we get our Rico Dowdle points tonight, guys. Enjoy the game. Good luck. We'll see you next week. Peace.